That is, there's a lot of things going on right now. Y'all already know why I'm here, but let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's go down this rabbit hole real quick. Man. First and foremost, thanks for joining me. This is the Identity Booth. My name is Heero. I'm the host of this lovely podcast where we try and identify with you as you identify with us. But for 191 days, Breonna Taylor went without justice, and that was when I changed all my profile screens to black. And there's a part of me that feels like we'll get into it. We will get into it. I want to send a quick shout out to our booth boss from last week, which was Titan King, our last podcast. What is a booth boss, you might be asking? Booth boss is simply somebody that comes to the chat and identifies with us. I know we got 3 people watching on Facebook right now. Shout out to those people. Let me know you're in the chat. You're an identifier. Just send me a sign. Let me know you're in here. There's always going to be like a booth boss, but it's really just depending on who's like communicating back with me. So if you want to be a booth boss, just put something in the chat. Simple as that. We're on a mission. We always on a mission. 214 subscribers, identifiers. Shout out to Chris Cooper. We're looking for 300. Like, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's a great place to find me. YouTube, The Identity Booth, Project DTO. You can also find me on Facebook, Heero Abdullahi, Wakanda's First Hero, on Twitter and Twitch. You can find us on The Identity Booth. Simple as that. Support small businesses, right? The last person we had following us, who was the last person on our page? It was the Circuit of Life podcast. Shout out to my boy Guillermo. We got a podcast coming out shortly. You guys make sure to check that out. But we're going to get right into this. And I think I'm going to have to go back to high school. I want to shout out my boy Domati Pongo, the Ghanaian champion. His tweet kind of embodies it all. His tweet kind of embodies this idea. And a lot of black men get super defensive. They get super in their feelings when black women say black men don't protect black women. And the ones who get offended are the ones we're talking about. The ones who feel the need to say something. You know, if you Coach Coleman right here, UAPP football, shout out. I used to play in the NFL. I might come to UAPB and coach. You know, since primetime think he's so special. Jackson State is trash. We used to mop the floor with them, or wherever the hell we went. But it goes without saying that Coach Coleman, he used to have this weird saying: if you throw a rock into a pack of dogs and one barks, you know you got one. It doesn't make sense in the context of football, but in this context it does. Because if you throw out an insult and someone responds, and that means you tickled an uncomfortable button. They have to respond. But when black women say they don't feel protected, they don't feel safe with black men, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about this. They're talking about the Daniel Camerons of the world, the Attorney General, the top chief police officer in Louisville, Kentucky, in the whole entire state. The number one officer in the state is a black man, and this is the setup. If I told you, if you read this in a history book, this is how they whitewash their history. If I told you in a history book that one officer went to jail for 15 years and it was because of a black attorney general in Louisville, Kentucky, reading that, you think to yourself, great. Sounds like the system's working. But with the part that you missed, the part that they hope you weren't paying attention to, was the fact you could have got this man in jail for 50 years and 2 more people, 3 altogether. What the part that they failed to tell you was that Daniel Cameron is the reason why she couldn't get justice. Proper justice. We'll get into it. But Domati Pongo, MTV host, Real Life Crimes, True Life Crimes, check it out. There's his handle on Twitter. He's super official. Went to high school with this guy. I feel famous. All skin folks ain't kin folks. If it ain't the truth. If this tweet had a face, it would be Daniel Cameron. It would. Absolutely. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is something like we have to come to terms with. We have to come to terms with it. I put out a post like, Daniel Cameron. let's get into it. Daniel Cameron. Daniel Cameron is the Attorney General officer, and he claims that he gave this the good old college try. What could I have done? What more could I have done? That is not good enough. Hey, that's us. Ron. No one's watching though. Somebody needs to come watch on Twitter. But it's not enough. And I posted this. Can we open this in a new tab? I just posted this to my Instagram personal page. This is Daniel Cameron. Can we get a look at this? This is Daniel Cameron. Now, hey, I beat my meat to all types of porn. Interracial, but I prefer black on black. It's just the preference. His wife is not the problem. It's his ideology. Tim Scott, Herman Cain, their ideology. Every house figure who was a slave, it wasn't the things that they loved, it was how much they loved them. And these type of people, and it's not even about picking your own over the other, but not realizing that, your people are in danger. Not using this affinity for the other people as a leverage. That's the problem. Herman Cain died going to a Trump rally. Tim Scott sold his soul at the RNC for a white man. And here he is. Daniel Cameron in his glory. Take a good look at this fool. Shout out. Ooh, I'm not seeing these tweets come up on valid points. Yeah. Thanks, Diane King, for telling me. Your tweets aren't popping up here, which is strange. Let's figure out what's going on here real quick. Let me know if that echo is still there or if it's gone. Let's try this one and let's go back over here. Okay, thanks. Titan King, I'm trying to figure out why your tweets aren't popping up. I hope it's not because like IG's hating on you. Somebody in Facebook or on YouTube or even Twitter, hit me up in the chat, one of your identifiers. I'm trying to test and see. Get out of here. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. Yeah, it's Twitch chat being itself, but now I'm like super concerned. Like, is anybody able to comment on this? Can anybody see it? Because no one can see the Twitch chat. But thanks for letting me know that the echo was going on. So now that's gone. You guys aren't seeing this, but we'll get back to it. Yeah, Twitch chat is down. So let's see if Facebook is up. Shout out to Tim Welch with the coon. All I want is all my chats to be up, and once they all up, we'll keep pushing forward. All right, let's check some real quick. Yeah, so it works on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you can comment on the chat and it'll pop up on Facebook. That's the best I can do. Twitch is being Twitch. I can't explain it. It's probably down for maintenance or something. But somebody, if anybody's watching on YouTube, let me know. Your comments will pop up on Facebook here, as you can see. But like I was saying, my infatuation with Daniel Cameron's, love life has no bearings on how I feel about him. But the thing is, I am not an elected official, and I have more wherewithal to be able to discern my political affiliations, my ideology, and my job. If because I work in the healthcare industry, and if somebody walked in and with a gunshot wound to their side, and as we're taking off his shirt to start the incision to stop the bleeding, and I saw a big "All Lives Matter" thing tattooed on his chest, that doesn't pay me. That has no issue for me. It's a body, it's a person who needs help. I'm not paid to care about your affiliations. Would I be wrong if I kind of gleamed at myself internally as I was cutting my scalpel through the middle of the chest? You damn right I'd be wrong. See, joke's on you. You have to have integrity, even in if you can't have integrity in the dark, who you are in the light means nothing. The world doesn't care about your facade. You only have integrity once. Shout out, Officer Nick. You only have it once. Don't waste it. The thing that a lot of people are going to have to become comfortable with is that Daniel Cameron was never on our side. You feel me? Daniel Cameron never, from the moment this case happened and it moved up the ranks. Let's talk about some of the things that happened. How Louisville's forensic ballistic team is certified, FBI certified to handle ballistics for gunshots. The whole entire state, the best ballistics in the state. None of those officers could determine which bullet was the fatal bullet. None of those officers could determine which bullets traveled in which direction. It wasn't until the federal government got involved. And of course, they have better supplies. They have better, equipment. But there's a part of me that says, wouldn't this group of people been able to figure it out? You don't think that this group of people might have been able to figure it out if it was one of their own that went down? If something happened to one of their own, wouldn't they have figured this out a lot sooner? It stands to reason. The FBI figured it out. It's strange to me that Daniel Cameron heard the word of the police officers now. Took their word at face value. Even though at least 23 officers from that department have had issues with telling the truth. That 33% of police violence in that police department has gone unchallenged. Daniel Cameron had no issue hearing the story of 11 people and only taking the word of one of those people because it fit the narrative. 11 people were within Breonna Taylor's earshot house. And more importantly than anything, if someone knocks on my door, you're not gonna take my word for it that person didn't knock. If I told you no one knocked at my door, who are you to tell me that my next door neighbor said someone knocked on your door? Go fuck yourself. Daniel Cameron claims he did nothing to sway this investigation, but the fact that he's still calling these murderers, detectives, officers, is further gleaning the fact he's just shining them up for their day in court. Because if it was Uncle Pookie and them, he's a thug. He's a menace. He's everything but human. It's funny how they humanize their criminals. And then they tell you Breonna Taylor's boyfriend is a criminal for defending her. The balls on these people. The balls on these people. And it only gets worse. It only gets worse. Daniel Cameron is with the president right here, who's a known racist, who's a known white supremacist. Oh, how can you say that? Go shut up. I'm tired of a bunch of people not being oppressed telling me how to be oppressed. You don't get to speak on other people's struggles. Where do you get off with that? Oh, I work out every day. Why don't you? It's a fucking pandemic outside. Shut up. People are so confident. And also, hey, let me also talk to some of these people out here saying Breonna Taylor's family sold her out. You took the $12 million, so everything's squared away. Okay, 1, you don't know anything about law, clearly. 2, shut up. 3, settling the civil suit has nothing to do with criminal law. If they convicted her and then gave her $12, would you then say reverse hammer on that and say, no, because they took the money, because they knew they were going to take the money, this is why they didn't punish this officer so much. Your logic is only designed to fit you, and that's why it makes sense to you. But the moment you put it out there for someone else to test it, if it falls apart, you need to go back to the drawing board. Them settling this civil suit was beyond them. This was correction that needed to come with it. Did you know with that civil suit also came immediate ramifications for the police department, for new implemented policies and procedures, the complete dissolvement of no-knock warrants, and the immediate funding for body cameras with all civilian interactions. No, oh, I did it. Oh, you don't say. Yeah, I do say. Pressing on. The $12 million means absolutely nothing to this family. It's not this you're assuming this family was struggling. You're assuming that this family was living in a thrashed community, further perpetuating the idea, the notion that she was a troubled person. The money doesn't matter. Would you sell yourself for $12 million? Oh, I didn't think so. So why do you think that this would matter to her family? Your mother, as big as a disappointment as you are to her, wouldn't sell you to save the world. And she would still go to heaven for sacrificing the world, because that's what a mother does. Get off your horse. We use Breonna Taylor's name in the WNBA, and not one single owner from the WNBA spoke up. We use Breonna Taylor's name in the NBA. Not one single NBA owner spoke up. I guarantee you, if some of these big boys from these companies, from these owners said something, oh, it matters. Shout out to the people who did. The Bucks leading that walkout during the playoffs. Every NFL player who's walking that grand line right now. Shout out to the players who did do something. All of the WNBA dedicating their season, which no matter who wins or lose now, seems like a loss. Because in a grand jury indictment, and I haven't even got to the point of the whole why we're up right now, because I'm not supposed to be up right now. During this whole entire 3-day deliberation since Monday, that's how long it took them to deliberate and come up with this. They came to the unanimous decision that, know what? After examining all the information, the fact that somebody was shot 6 times doesn't matter. What does matter is the adjacent apartment had 3 occupants inside, 4 because we believe in birth at inception. A pregnant woman, a male, and 1 child were in the next apartment over. And the bullets from Officer Hankinson's gun, they went into that apartment. He shot 10 times. And that right there is why he's being charged with what was it called? Wantoning, whatever it's called. Basically, endangerment. 3 felony counts of endangerment. Each one maximum penalty of 5 years, minimum of 1. So the max is 15 years this man can get. And this is for endangering the life of another family, for damages, for reckless endangerment, which is the charge, but not for killing Breonna Taylor. Remember, this was the same police department who, when they put out their initial report, did not refuse to acknowledge that Breonna Taylor was shot by one of their officers. This is the same police department who wanted the boyfriend during his arrest to confess that Breonna Taylor was a kingpin. This is Daniel Cameron telling his officers, you got to find another way of making this someone else's fault. Breonna Taylor, Daniel Cameron has ostensibly said Breonna Taylor was murdered because she got in the way of our investigation. We said you had drugs, even though 3 people told us, nah, this house, the people within the house don't have drugs. She's never had She doesn't have a criminal record. She works for the state. She's an EMT, for God's sakes. The boyfriend never had a criminal record, no drug pass, no nothing. But I'd be damned before I take blame. And this is what it's about. Louisville, Kentucky's, not even Louis, Daniel Cameron said he's more interested in protecting white innocence than protecting justice. This goes beyond Breonna Taylor right now. Because Daniel Cameron is openly saying they did nothing wrong. Coming into their house, breaking their own rules and regulations, not listening to any of the warning signs. Killing a black person in America is not a crime to Daniel Cameron. This is him at a rally. This is a person who openly admits that Mitch McConnell is one of his heroes. Mitch McConnell, the same person who kept John Lewis's bills at his desk to the day he died. And now he's gone and he doesn't care. John Lewis is an example of what the sunken place looks like. And if Tim Scott isn't further proof that Daniel Cameron isn't going to get what he thinks he's going to get, I don't know what is. Tim Scott has been pleading to get a position of power. But all that shucking and jiving don't mean shit. As long as your skin complexion doesn't match. We used Breonna Taylor's name for 191 days. For 191 days, we made posts about her, we made memes about her, we made passionate pleas, we spoke about it, we talked about it, we brought it into our nation, and we did everything we could as a people. As a people, we waited 191 days for justice. We tried to keep her name in the conscious mind of the people during the middle of a pandemic where 200,000 plus people are dead, where there's a story every day to match or trump her name. We did our best to keep her at the forefront of our mind. And after 191 days, we got nothing. We got nothing. No mention, no passion, no nothing. So what do you do? Like, what do you do after you've this is it. After you ask politely from your oppressors to give you justice and they said no, what do? Minneapolis, after George Floyd, they asked politely. And maybe we should have taken the approach of, 4 days in, nothing happened. Yeah, let's start. 4 days and they immediately arrested those 4 officers. How much comfort are you truly comfortable with when people who look like you are being oppressed? I said this on yesterday's podcast when we went live. A large part of what you're doing, shout out to the 2 people watching on Twitch. Sorry, I can't see your guys' comment. Actually, I'm on my other line, so you can put it in the chat. I'll see it. How much are you really willing to sacrifice for this so-called thing of freedom, justice, equity? How many more conversations? How many more Breonna Taylors? Breonna Taylor's story isn't unique. Tatiana, Fort Worth, Texas. Identical story. She didn't get justice either, so I knew this was coming. Her story was the preliminary for me. That was the warm-up. If you can't get what you want by following the rules, are the rules designed to keep you in check, or because they have some merit or value? I think these rules have been put in place to keep us in check, and I don't condone violence. Me personally, I don't accept violence. I'm always going to look for the path of least resistance. That's for me. That's because I know I can kill people. But for the people in Louisville, Kentucky, or Louisville, Kentucky, whatever, however the hell you say it, if their city starts to burn tonight, I'm okay with that. If they don't experience any peace from here on out, I'm okay with that. If because of all the soot, smoke, and ash from their burnt down buildings blocks out the sun till the end of the year, I'm okay with that. A few police officers get roughed up. Hey, I don't condone that. But if I saw it, I'd smirk. Because the same police officers out here claiming to protect and serve you will murder you, investigate themselves, and tell you it was your fault. Don't believe me? Ask Breonna Taylor. Your tax dollars. You as a black person paying taxes, you gotta be furious. You gotta be furious. Isn't it crazy that the only way you can get reparations for slavery is by sacrificing one of your own? It's not enough that your ancestors gave 400 years. It's not enough. Jim Crow, segregation, affirmative action, Civil Rights Act. That's not enough. You gotta give your offsprings. Breonna Taylor could have held the secret to solving cancer. She was an EMT. She was intellectually inclined from the medical standpoints. She could have saved more people than any one of these three monsters of a police department could ever. For me, my protest isn't over. But just like with Tatiana, I have to move forward. Because unless the federal government brings charges, this is it. And if he gets 15 years, it's more than we can expect. He'll be the first officer, I believe, in Kentucky to receive punishment. He won't. Because he's not being charged for killing someone. He's being charged for endangering someone else, even though there was someone in the room that killed. And let's be clear, the decisive bullet that killed Breonna Taylor was fired from a different officer during the exchange with her boyfriend. And this is just further proof why the whole guns thing is crazy. Why, guns, I have one and I'm a gun owner, I get it. But some of the basic rules, like firing into a dark room, that's just a no. That's just an absolute no. You know who fires into a dark room? Terrorist. You broke into someone's house. The logic that they use to protect it. I broke into someone's house. I don't belong here. The person in the house shoots at me. Why would he do that? You're an intruder. You are the bane of his existence. I would like to see anybody else of white skin have this same situation play out and get away with it. But we actually have an example. The guy that was playing video games with his girlfriend, the neighbor called in a disturbance. He comes to the door, someone banging on his door. And I'll say this again. Stop answering the door for police. Stop talking to them. Stop thinking that you're going to reason with them. From the George Floyd protest, there's hundreds of videos out there of officers taking knee in solidarity by day, and by night, they're beating people with clubs. And speaking of that, let's see what's going on with this protest, because you know that the protests are coming, right? You know the protests are coming, right? So